What's up, YouTube? Any mention that I make of jw.org, Jehovah's Witnesses, their digital, online, or printed materials is done under the Copyright Disclaimer Copyright Act of 1976 for fair use for purposes such as criticism, news reporting, and teaching, research too, etc., etc. Peace.
What's going on? How are you all? It's been a very long time since I made a video and we chatted or discussed, well, on something I made, but we talk and support on other people's things and observations and newfound truths. So, how have you all been? Again, it's tax season, so we want to make sure we pay our liquor tax like Tony Morris. So I'm sure there's no one who hasn't seen that video of him at least a minimum of 20 miles outside of the headquarters buying a ton of alcohol. And there is an XJW in Chicago, Jay the comedian, and he calls Anthony Morris Top Shelf Tony, so that's pretty funny. I think I might bite his style and refer to him as Top Shelf Tony also. But I think, honestly, and to not get long-winded, maybe medium-winded, I feel like I first saw this as not a big deal. Like, he bought a bunch of liquor, who cares? You know what I'm saying? Like, JWs can drink, so what? You know? But then, maybe 5 minutes later, I said, is it really that simple? Like, did I, what do they call that? Oversimplify what we actually saw. And I know I did, because my thought was, they can drink, he bought liquor, he didn't hurt anyone, he wasn't drinking and driving, blah, blah, blah. But he bought a ton, like many pounds, many ounces, many liters, gallons of liquor. So I know at the end of the video, he's like loading his car. So besides the loose bottles, the single bottles, there was at least one box or two boxes of whatever that he also loaded up. So again, I thought, that's nothing, they can drink, who cares? But I started to think, and I know that that's dangerous to start thinking, but seriously, in doing videos and talking about JW doctrine and how we were raised and what they kind of, or not kind of, definitely brainwashed us to believe, and how to understand life. Now when you flip it and you critically, i.e. discerningly, break down those constructs that kept us slaves, good for nothing slaves, to Watchtower, and you figure out how they used us, basically as salesmen for a publishing company under the guise of Christianity for salvation, you have to deal with and make statements about Watchtower based on facts. So speculating is easy, but it's also just as easily debunked or left as just that speculation. So why entertain it, especially by the person who might be trying to figure things out and wake up or defend Watchtower? So when we speculate about what we see or hear Watchtower doing, it's the weaker version of a of an argument that could be made in a strong way. So I try to deal with just like the facts. So if there are times I haven't, let me know. But that's what I'm trying to do now because it's harder to debate, argue, devalue, dilute facts. You know what I'm saying? So what do we know? We know he bought a lot of alcohol, like a whole lot, like a week or more's wages of alcohol. The Bible is always like so many wages, days' wages, you know. So anyway, that's a fact. We know he drove pretty darn far. Why? We don't know why. Maybe this place gives him like a trench coat discount or something. Who knows? But he drove far to get it. We do know that Watchtower and the elders will judge a person, counsel a person, admonish a person based on appearance only. We know they do that. Even in my life, I remember being in field service with my best female friend at the time, just a good buddy, my mom, and like two other sisters. One sister went home, so now there are four of us, not four. And then my mom and the other sister went on a Bible study. So now it's just me and my like good friend who's a female and maybe a year younger. So we were both like 20 and 21 or 19 and 20 or whatever. So during that hour, we did some door knocking at addresses where we hadn't found people home, not at homes. And I had some paperwork to take to an elder's house. So I said, oh, in this free time while they're at this Bible study, and we can move around a little more freely, I went over this elder's house with my friend in the passenger seat, this female. I go in, I take him the paperwork from whatever congregation business, and then like, man, 2 or 3 months later, he brings up the fact that I was alone in a car with a female. And even though it was field service, it could look a certain way to people who saw us, and they wouldn't know why we were alone together. They wouldn't know what we had done while we were alone. So blah, 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 and 30 minutes later, don't do it again, and you could be deleted from being a servant. In JW talk, that's, or layman terms, that's like an elder helper. So he's saying, based on appearance, all of these things can happen to you without anyone even wanting to know the facts, just because it looked not good to a certain kind of critical eye. So no one's assuming, oh, they're just being good kids and having a nice time in the city in their business attire on this sunny late spring day. I think it was springtime. We didn't have on coats. I know it was warm. But people will only assume elders, I don't know, nosy brothers or sisters who saw us randomly, that we're only up to something no good. So because of that, this elder is like, people will assume negatively, and you'll have to pay the consequences of he said, she said, by us taking away the little things you do in the congregation. Because he say, she say, you will always lose. So anyway, that tells me, or from personal experience, from seeing it happen to other people, I know JWs assume from what they see and they act, the elders especially, they are just goons for the governing body. To me, the elders are the worst part of the organization because they do the dirty work. And if elders said no to some of this oppression and policing, it would be a different place to have community and worship and indulge the friendships you have with family and friends in JW. So anyway, we know he spent a lot of money. We know he bought a lot of liquor. We know he drove far. We know JW assumes things based on what they see only. So again, who cares if he bought liquor or who cares if he drinks? But the thought that came to mind is, let's say he was like 23 and he was in his first real car he had bought, some sports car, and he was in the city and he's not a dude trying to reach out and become an elder or a servant, and he's at a gas station and some other more mature brother pulls up and sees all this liquor in his vehicle. Trouble only. There's only trouble for that young dude because he had $500 to $1,000 worth of liquor in his car, for instance. Or let's say, like here in Wisconsin, there's an assembly hall an hour away from here, and there was a couple who lived in an apartment on the property, like a lot of JW properties, and they did the maintenance. So let's say that dude is out and about and he buys $500 to $1,000 worth of liquor, and some local witness sees that and they tell some elder, brother maintenance man had so much liquor and who knows why, and why would one man and his wife need that much alcohol? Only trouble, only questioning, only meetings, only interrogation about his actions. In the least, there would be some threat to, again, his position or his responsibilities and his reputation, solely based on observation. Like, there was a lot of liquor. Okay, we need to talk to this dude, and there's surely a problem we don't know about. Round up the police wolves, and we're gonna begin protocol whatever, oppress this guy because he had a lot of liquor. So I'm saying all this to say that is not gonna happen with Tony Morris. Now that might sound like a speculation, but I'm trying to deal only in the facts. And this is why I say that. I have a copy of the new Elder book, and it coincides with the old Elder book. I think this revised is a better word. This revised Elder's book, maybe it might be 3 months old or something, but the old version talked about this same subject when it was considering like a servant or an elder, and these are all congregation helpers, and you have a special label placed on you, and everyone knows that you hold a certain rank in the congregation. So that's ministerial servant, who is an assistant to elders, or elders who assist circuit overseers who assist the branch, and the branch is the 7 or 8 dudes in charge and on the East Coast, the governing body. So anyway, that's the chain of command, but both books talk about if any appointed person, namely specifically elders, commit some sin where their appointed rank has to be called into question, like, you did such and such on this day, and we think we need to talk about it because we might have to like strip your stripes and take your badge. So both books discuss when an elder may have sinned in the past or sinned in the present or done something that JWs call questionable behavior. And when I say Toni Morris won't be treated like a lower JW who is oftentimes dealt with solely based on appearance, not facts. This is why that's not speculation, because the new book in chapter 8 of Shepherd the Flock of God, the elder book only elders can see, it says under the subheading, Procedure for Reviewing an Appointed Brother's Qualifications. So elder helper, which is called ministerial servant or elder. When preparing to review the qualifications of a brother, elders should first research current direction that applies to the issue at hand. Avoid dogmatic viewpoints or quick decisions based solely on personal preferences. Philippians 4:5. I didn't read that. I don't have it memorized, but it's cited here. Do not be quick to recommend deletion unless there is a solid basis for doing so. It may be possible to assist the brother to make the needed adjustments and continue to serve. Has the brother served faithfully for many years? What has he done or failed to do that raises questions? Well, he was driving super far away to buy a ton of alcohol, and we've deleted people who we assume drink a lot, let alone if we know they did. How did he react to counsel? Has he had such difficulties in the past? This might be the first time he drank or bought like 100 pounds of alcohol. I don't know. Where am I? How did he then respond to efforts to help if he had this problem or difficulty in the past? Was his wrongdoing really so serious that it requires restricting his privileges? Possibly he just made a mistake using poor judgment. But when you drive far and you buy a lot, the congregation in general may still have respect for him and confidence in him as an elder or ministerial servant. Perhaps the matter is not widely known, like not on YouTube or Twitter or Instagram or wherever, if at all, known at all. If he realizes that his action was unwise and has learned from his mistake, has a good attitude, and wants to improve, it may be that he can continue to serve. Now, here is the only sentence in all of this that matters, and it's in both books, the old one and the new one. The congregation, so like moms and little kids and teenagers and other elders, the congregation in general, so the majority of people, some who knew may not really like the dude anymore, but most don't know, so they're ignorant. The congregation in general may still have respect for him and confidence in him as an elder or a ministerial servant. So, Top Shelf Tony Morris is an elder with heavenly privileges coming his way, is how he and JW's understand his life. So this powerful sentence says that in general, the congregation may still have respect for him and confidence in him as an elder. Well, how? That's a speculation, right? Because they're not going to be like, just so you all know, all 8 million of you JWs know, Tony Morris bought so much liquor that he needed both sections of a shopping cart to get it to his car. And it was so much liquor he had to load it into his back seat and or trunk. And we know we're telling people to use liquor in moderation or you're going to be viewed a certain way. Knowing that he bought $500 to $1,000 worth of liquor, do you still respect this dude? By a show of hands, yay, nay, thumbs up, thumbs down. So they're not going to tell people this happened. So if people don't know it happened and they're still like, go to Brother Morris, he's so wise, blah, blah, blah. And this is how they judge if the congregation still respects you, is based on that they don't know what you do in private or at least attempt to do in some sneaky, cunning way, then that's a false positive, to say the least, right? So is it true respect, or is it, oh, I didn't know that this dude was drinking liquor by the hundreds of dollars or throwing parties where he was serving this amount of liquor, or I don't know, he could be buying it and throwing it out a window for giggles, you know what I'm saying? But the congregation can't respect you truly if they don't know what you do, generally speaking. And that's probably why, if Jesus is real or not, he told us not to judge each other because we don't know. But if Tony Morris has elders judging for Jehovah, which is in the elder book, he actually teaches them they judge people during shunning meetings for Jehovah, then maybe we should know what you do, like you know what we do if we come to you for help and you decide to say you're out of here even though we confessed our sins. It's just so foul, and I think people, I know we're gonna deal in facts. I know people in JW will excuse this because the headquarters won't make a big deal out of it. I've heard and seen things and been approached when I was a JW, and what did we do? We made excuses. That could have been for anything. With the power of Photoshop and video editing, blah, blah, blah. So I feel like just him having alcohol, again, if Jesus is real or not, there's no physical evidence he's real, but his influence is real. Jesus made at least 60 gallons of very fine wine in that first miracle at that wedding. So he encouraged drinking alcohol, to say the least. So that's nothing. Tony Morris bought a lot of alcohol. Who cares? But the checks and balances and the scrutiny that any other lower ranking JW will receive for doing the same, that will not happen to top shelf Tony Morris. And there is the problem. Agree or disagree, I'll put a link to the full video that I'm sure the whole community has seen in my description, and let me know what you think. Peace.